Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy V Moss here. I got a special guest, my man Tahir Murray, founder of Legacy History Pride. My guy, what's good with you,
Yes,
bro?
sir. I'm good. I'm blessed. You?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you. We actually got to meet in person earlier this year back in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Conference, which was cool. But I've been aware of LHP obviously as a HBCU grad myself at Hampton. We know the Hampton Howard thing. We're not gonna get into that today. It's all love. But yeah, man, super happy to have you on the pod to talk about, specifically we'll get into the Black Ambition, but just to hear your story and kind of talk about, this journey that you've been on. So the fashion and clothes and working in that business is a family thing. It's a family business. So talk
Right.
to us about like how your family's work in that world, has led you to this and built a foundation for you for LHP.
Yeah. So it kind of starts with my grandfather. He came to this country as an immigrant from Trinidad and Tobago, just kind of in search of the American dream. And long story short, he opened up a shoe repair store with his brother that later on turned into him and my dad going into business together, and they acquired the first black-owned Nike account. So when I was born, I basically like grew up in this store in New York called Von Sneaker Store in Queens. School bus dropped me off at the store every single day. Saturdays were always at the store. Like the backyard was literally my playground. But at a young age, I just kind of took a liking to what my family was doing in the store. I always took a liking to like what my how my cousins were dressing, the things that they were into, the music, the video games, all that, all these things that kind of just make up um, the culture as a young kid. So um I always wanted to do something in fashion. I always wanted to just kind of like be like the men and the people in my family. Started making t-shirts when I was like 13 years old. I had a brand in high school, so I was running that for a little bit. Um when I got to Howard, that's when me and my dad kind of I started doing business with him. He had a different collegiate lifestyle brand at the time. And one of his he had a license with Howard. He had a license with quite a few HBCUs. Um, so I started doing social media for him, doing photo shoots on campus, and I was like, this is so dope. And one thing that I loved about his brand was that um, it just provided something different for Black colleges. Like once you go to the bookstores, it's not a lot of gear that truly represents HBCU culture. Every day, as you know, is a fashion show on campus. You really got to pop out in your best, or some people gonna skip class.
Mhm.
Then they have they fit right. So I always admired that about just campus life when it comes to fashion and just representing yourself. So when I started my brand in 2019, I wanted to continue building, but like just building specifically for HBCUs, designing high quality goods, something more than just a screen printed T-shirt. You know, being able to produce a cardigan, a varsity jacket, some pieces that people could wear to work, they could wear to the game, they could wear to the office, uh, wherever. And it's something that they could even pass down to their own legacy. So yeah, that was a long way to answer, but yeah, that's like my story, like kind of like in a nutshell, and been running the brand since 2019. I was a sophomore, so I've been running it ever since.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
just talk about that. How did you balance that, man? Like building this company while you were still in school.
it was it was fun. I had the time of my life. Like I was DJing, I was throwing parties. That was a way to promote the brand too.
Yep.
We were doing everything. Like to be a student and throwing parties and doing all that and running the brand, it was a lot. And people always ask me, how'd you have balance? I didn't have balance, bro. I was going hour by hour trying to figure it out. Graduating in four was just through the grace of God for real. So we had a lot of fun. Me and my friends had a lot of fun just pushing out the brand and just creating a community on campus, creating a buzz through this vision and this idea of like, what can we do to make HBCUs just cool through merch and doing some dope stuff, events on the event side and just community building and through fashion. That's literally what we did. So yeah,
Yeah, man. To graduate in the four and running a business, bro, kudos to you, dog. Like
appreciate it.
I know a
Appreciate
lot
it.
of people who we're doing a lot less and graduated in five. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
I tell people all the time, like that COVID year, because COVID was my junior year.
got
Like if it
you.
wasn't for COVID and having classes completely online, I probably wouldn't have graduated on time, bro. To be
True.
honest,
That's real.
um, because the brand was just picking up and it was just a lot going on, but we did it nonetheless.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about it. Like a big vision is providing pieces and apparel that like are really part of the culture. Like talk about your approach to that. Cause I think you made a really good point is like it's easy to just slap logos on t-shirts and just say, okay, cool, here's your branded merch. But like talk about your process and your vision for how you are intentional about thinking about ideas that are going to help elevate, because the HBCU world is a fashion show every single day.
Hmm. Even just outside of how people dress, I think when it comes to HBCUs, people miss how diverse Black colleges are.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Black students, but we come from all over the world, different cultures, um, different backgrounds, like different interests, even. And I say this all the time, like you see a lot of people because HBCUs are hot right now, you see a lot of people doing collaborations and it's cool that they focus on the band and Greek life and sports, but there's so much more to HBCUs than just those three things. No knock on them. They're very important to our history, but you know, there's a chem major at Spelman who wants to make perfume for Louis Vuitton one day. There's
Yeah.
students that want to work at NASCAR. There's students that want to do so many different things in different fields. Like HBCUs are really in every single space when you think about it. So for me, it's about how do I share these stories? How do I highlight these people in these communities? So when it comes to just the research for design or marketing or storytelling, I do a lot of research on the back end. I pop up on campuses and I talk to the historians and professors on campus, getting a little bit more insight on what the school culture is really about. So for me, I've been able to go to, of course, being in Atlanta, visit the AUC and been able to travel to Prairie View. Recently, last year, I went to FAMU. Like, even those three different cities and spaces are so different as far as the culture, the music, how they dress, how they talk. It's so different. So we try to tailor our marketing and our merch to just really match um, the trueness and authenticity of what exists on these campuses. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something I always really talk about how much I loved my experience. Like, being from Virginia, and obviously, a huge part of this podcast is about music, but just being able to have all those different regional sounds at the time when I was in school, like that was a big
Mm,
deal. Like we got to hear Houston music and LA music and
yeah.
Atlanta music, like, and just be around those people who lived it every day. Like, because we love T.I. and we love, Mike Jones and Slim Thug, but like to be in the same room and space with people who actually like are around that, are from that. Like that was really dope. And I think that's a huge part of just like you said, it's so many different aspects of Black culture, so many different representations of that. But HBCUs have all that in one place is a celebration
Yeah.
of our culture for sure.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So recently you were one of the 2024 prize winners for Pharrell's Black Ambition Fund, the Black for Black and Hispanic entrepreneurs. Just kind of tell us through that first of all, congrats on that.
Thank you.
Tell us about the process and like just what winning that means to you.
Winning it meant a lot, especially just kind of being a quote unquote like underdog in this space. I'm already young, 25-year-old Black male doing fashion. So we've been told our fair share of no's, doing stuff for HBCUs that's already underlooked. We've been told our fair share of no's when it comes to grants or scholarships or even just getting a loan or anything like that, any type of support for the brand. Um, so to get a big yes and to be a part of, the Black Ambition team, is really an honor for me. Like to just the recognition alone is amazing because I was competing with some of the brightest ideas and brightest minds that I've met. So to be in the room was cool, but to have a seat at the table just felt so much more meaningful for me. Um, but yeah, I applied back in March, I want to say, and I originally wasn't gonna apply, but something in my spirit was like, just shoot your shot. You never know what's gonna happen. And then by July, I got the acceptance letter, and then we started our program in August. And it was a really cool experience because you could really tell the intentionality throughout the program. It was more than just like, oh, you got accepted, here's some money, go about your way. But the mentorship, the resources, the network is so much more powerful than the 25K that we were awarded. Like stuff like that is truly priceless. To be in an ecosystem that's really invested, not just in your business and ideas, but invested in you as just a person.
Right.
You don't really get a lot of spaces like that outside of your HBCU. Once you graduate, it's hard to find just atmospheres like that. So, to go and meet Pharrell, to hear him speak a few times, it was an honor. Like that's somebody that I've studied and looked up to for a minute. So to be in the same room as him and to meet so many different innovators and founders, just changing the world through really good business ideas, but seeing that the impact that they're making is like just being in that energy in that bubble was just it just felt like a whole recharge, felt like a reboot of energy. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about how Pharrell has influenced you, inspired you as a creative.
Yeah. I think I think it goes to one of the big pieces of advice that he kind of gave um, at the Black Ambition Week last week. And he was just kind of talking about the importance of remaining in the negative space or remaining in the white space as far as like blank space goes. And he was just talking about like, you just got to continue to go and thrive and be and create in spaces that aren't super saturated. Um, you know, go through the entrance that everybody else isn't using to get into the room with the idea of like not just being different to be different, but really embracing an individuality. And that's something that I admire about him and his work. And you kind of like really see it. That individuality and that uniqueness really exudes through his sound, how he dresses, the things that he talks about, the things that are important to him. Um, Meeting him, what I appreciate the most that he was just so unapologetically himself about how he talked about Black founders and just the Black community, unity, equity, all these things that are important that you don't get to see people of his stature talk about all the time, given the spaces that they're in. So it just just hearing him talk about just embracing individuality and finding things that work best for you and feel right for you was very just reaffirming for me to just continue being on this journey to just be myself, and everything is going to work out in the end. Like people are going to find you, uh people are going to support you because of the things that you just naturally love and do. Next thing you know, you're going to be changing the world. People are going to be interested in the things that you're doing.
Right.
So it hasn't been just about building a brand, which is really about building yourself and finding that authentic voice through whatever medium you create in.
Yeah,
So
100%. Like that's a huge part of what we talk about on the show a lot. Just me being a kid from Virginia who liked different things. Like that's part of the reason why we have a lot of respect for him is because he was a person that made it okay for us not to like the things that everyone else liked, to like some different things and also like just dive into that. So
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So talk a little bit about what are some of your favorite songs, man? I mean, you're a little bit younger than me. So some of the stuff that really that we grew up on like when they were really on fire, you was probably a kid. But what are some of your favorite Pharrell Neptune songs?
Oh man. Um, I feel like my favorite song changes so much. Right now, Run to the Sun is like,
Okay.
yeah, that's one of my favorites right now. I just watched like his it's like '04 documentary and he had like a live performance on it, and it's just like seeing a live performance can change your whole perspective on how you take in a song. So I would say that, and cliche but front is just like an iconic, it's just an iconic video for the like who is in it, and just like for
Yeah.
me it's just that's paradise. You got your homies, you got dope clothes on, uh private party, all these girls, skateboarding ramp in the crib,
Right.
like that was my dream as a kid. I was a skateboard kid. So I've like always just loved that video and the song itself, but especially the video though.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely was a was a moment, but like you said, it was just like, yeah, like that is the ultimate. We're doing whatever we want to do, just chilling, skateboard,
Yeah,
kicking it. Um, that's like Run to the Sun. Like that's a kudos to you, man. Like that's a like you said, the live performance aspect of it, like because like there's two different versions of that album. So
mm,
there's one that's like more electronic sounding, but then the live version of it has more instrumentation like that. I think that's really what pushed it to the level. Like people love Run to the Sun because of that version of it. And when you see him perform it live, I think like you said, it resonates with people in a different way. But two of my
yeah,
favorites for sure. Front is up there. Front is goated for sure.
yeah, dude. Like his creative process behind these songs, like when he speaks about like he sees color when he's creating, like you
Mm-hmm.
really see that once you see the visuals and you hear the songs mash up with the visuals, like it just makes sense.
Yeah,
Run to the Sun is just one of those songs like you just can't feel good or can't not feel good when you listen to a song like that.
right.
And for him to like replicate that throughout the years is like this guy's a goat.
That's
This
one of the
guy's a
things that I love. I don't know if you have you seen the Lego movie?
hmm
That's one of the things I loved about the Lego movie because of the way that telling the story in Legos, you were able to like really show people the synesthesia, like the colors, right? Like I thought that was a really dope aspect of being able to explain that to people in a way throughout the movie without even noticing it. Like, he's given this color sound that's the drop like it's hot beat to Snoop, and this color sound that's Noriega, nothing to
yeah.
like I thought that was really a really dope aspect of being able to use the Lego format to like really explain that concept to people for sure.
Mm. You know what's so cool is that what he shared about this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about one of the things I look up to him when it comes to individuality. He was like it was a time where like when they first started kind of figuring out the idea of like what he wanted to do for his own documentary, something like that. And it was at a time where like documentaries are super saturated. You see everybody have a documentary nowadays. Um, but he was like, I will do a documentary if and only if it's Legos. And his whole team was like, we were just so close to getting you to say yes to doing just a regular doc and piecing them together. And he was like, I'll do it, but we got to do it through Legos. And I think that just like is just so cool. Um, and I think like it just humanized him even more, like through the whole movie. And he said they were shooting it through COVID, so this has been an idea just for a minute. So to see it come together and hearing his story on the big screen was like, I don't know, it's kind of life changing, bro. Like he's just a man that just like focused on his vision and just like believed on that. And yeah,
Yeah, man.
now we see the Pharrell who we see now. So it's pretty cool to like hear the backstory of it. Yeah.
Yep. And it always comes back to like for people like us, like the idea, the concept of you can do it too. Like that's like he really helps us believe that shit. And I think that's really cool.
Absolutely.
So what's next, man? What's next for LHP?
Yeah, we're working on just like scaling the business right now, getting to more HBCUs, getting more school bookstores. My biggest goal right now is I want to shoe. I think that's been one of my biggest goals since I started the brand. I've done collaborations with some of the biggest names in the world, from NASCAR to Nickelodeon and Google. Um, but I really want to design a shoe and I want to do fashion shows and stuff like that. But uh, right now we're just waiting for our moment to come. But until then, we're gonna keep building out this product. We got some really cool items coming out for spring, and I'm working on fall right now. So I'm excited. We just touched the surface of like barely scratching the surface of what we got going for the future. So yeah, I'm excited to say the least. I'm excited.
Word. Well,
Yeah,
first off, congrats again on Black Ambition, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat. Like I said, as a fellow HBCU grad, I'm super happy and super proud to see all the work that you've done and success you're having, man. So keep it going, man. Keep it going.
appreciate it. Appreciate it. As soon as we connected, it was like we're gonna do something in the future. Who would have thought it was gonna be a podcast? And that's just like the way. That's just the way that the world works, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Online when it's supposed to. So thank you for having me. And I appreciate everybody tapping in and listening to my story.
Yeah, man. So everyone, appreciate y'all listening to another episode next Neptune Sunday. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace and love.